What you think about, you move toward. What you fixate on, you begin to build. What you obsess over, you eventually become. It starts quietly. A thought, a hunger, a whisper in the back of your mind that says, "This isn't who I meant to be." That whisper? It's the spark, the origin point of every revolution, every invention, every reinvention. But that whisper doesn't change your life, not by itself. What changes everything is what happens when that whisper becomes an obsession. Obsession is a word the world has tried to poison. They say, don't be too intense, don't be too focused, don't be too ambitious. But the truth is simple. No one who has ever reshaped their life, or reshaped the world, did it by being balanced, lukewarm, or moderate. They did it by being consumed. Consumed with a vision. Devoted to a purpose. Obsessed with a mission so personal, so emotionally charged, that they could not look away. Obsessive focus is not a flaw. It is a superpower. And every person you admire, every name etched in history, every fortune built from nothing, was fueled by obsession. Thomas Edison wasn't trying to balance his evenings. He was sleeping 4 hours a night in his lab, obsessed with bringing light to a dark world. Nikola Tesla visualized entire machines in his head, obsessing until they ran flawlessly without ever touching a tool. Steve Jobs pored over every curve, every color, every keystroke of the Apple Macintosh because he wasn't interested in average. He was obsessed with excellence. And you, if you're serious about breaking through, cannot afford the lukewarm disease of distraction. You must let go of the myth of moderation and lean into the truth. What you obsess over, you become. Obsession is misunderstood because it makes people uncomfortable. It shines a spotlight on the mediocrity that others have accepted in themselves. When you become obsessed with greatness, it exposes the excuses of the average. When you speak boldly about your goals, it irritates those who have silenced their own dreams. When you pursue something relentlessly, it forces others to confront their own laziness, and so they mock it. They label it toxic. They'll say, "You've changed. Good. You were supposed to. You don't rise by staying the same. You don't evolve by being palatable. You don't achieve what others won't by doing what everyone else does." There is a law, call it psychological, spiritual, or magnetic, that governs all growth. What dominates your mind will eventually dominate your life. Your dominant obsession becomes your dominant reality. Think about that. If you obsess over your limitations, you become a prisoner of your own fear. If you obsess over failure, you become paralyzed before you even begin. If you obsess over what other people think, you'll never become who you truly are. But if you obsess over mastery, you begin to refine. If you obsess over purpose, you begin to align. If you obsess over your vision, you begin to manifest it. The mind, when focused like a laser, begins to warp the world around it. Reality bends under the weight of prolonged intention. And the difference between a fantasy and a result is the level of obsession behind it. Clarity. That's where it begins. You cannot become what you obsess over if you don't know what you truly want. You must name it, define it, see it with microscopic detail, write it down like your life depends on it. Because it does. Average people say they want success. Obsessed people define exactly what that means. Average people want wealth. Obsessed people calculate the amount, the date, and the reason why. Average people dream at night. Obsessed people visualize with eyes wide open. There's a reason Napoleon Hill placed definiteness of purpose at the very core of Think and Grow Rich. Without a clear aim, energy disperses. Time evaporates. Momentum dies. But with clarity, obsession has a direction, and obsession with direction becomes force. The world doesn't yield to the hesitant. It rewards the possessed, those whose thoughts are drenched in vision, whose hearts are inflamed with purpose. The mind is a garden, and your obsessions are the seeds. You can plant weeds of fear and doubt, or you can plant desire, belief, and tenacity. But either way, something will grow. Obsessions are not neutral. You're always obsessing over something. The question is it serving you? or sabotaging you? Are you feeding your obsession for excuses? Or are you feeding your obsession for elevation? Let me tell you something you already know but have maybe forgotten. Every ounce of success, every peak you admire, every person living with purpose, they all started where you are. Confused, broke, doubtful, tired. But they made a decision. To feed the flame, not the fear. To protect their obsession from the world that tried to dilute it. They built habits around that obsession. Woke up early for it. Said no to distraction for it. Spoke it into existence when no one else believed. And they never let the fire go out. Because that's the real danger. Not failure, not rejection, but apathy, indifference. Letting the world talk you out of your own calling. Discipline makes obsession sustainable. Without discipline, your obsession burns hot and burns out. But when you build systems around your vision, when you align your days with your desire, obsession becomes power. You become dangerous, not to others, but to the version of yourself that was average. To the version that used to procrastinate, overthink, binge, doubt. You bury that version, one day at a time, with every disciplined act of obsession. Because obsession alone is not enough. It must be channeled, focused, fused with action so consistent, it becomes identity. That's when you shift. That's when you're no longer trying to be something. You are it. You no longer aspire. You embody. People say, you are what you eat. No, you are what you think about, what you obsess over. That's what shapes your decisions. That's what governs your focus. That's what builds your habits, your beliefs, your results. Obsession is the architect. Discipline is the builder. And belief is the fuel. If you're not obsessed with the life you want, you'll be consumed by the life you don't. So what do you obsess over? Comfort, validation, comparison, or is it something bigger? Do you wake up with your mission in your chest? Do you feel it burning when no one else is watching? Would you still chase it if nobody ever clapped? That's the test. That's how you know it's real. If it keeps you up at night, if it pulls you out of bed in the morning, if you'd rather die trying than live without it, that's not a dream. That's your direction. This is the era of distraction. The world is designed to fragment your focus, to scatter your energy, dilute your power. But you must be different. You must protect your attention like it's your oxygen, because it is. What you focus on, you feed. What you feed grows. And what grows becomes you. So focus with obsession. Build with obsession. Live with obsession. Because the moment you fully commit, with your mind, body, and spirit aligned, the world has no choice but to respond. You become what you obsess over. So choose the obsession that will build the life you were born to live. And don't look back.